The downfall of woke Disney with Piers Morgan, the critical drinker, and Nerdrotic. And what I can only be assumed two people from Disney who are gonna say woke good, this should be great.
Huge civil war raging with Disney, with board members, investors, all trying to work out what is going wrong with the recent series of flops, because Disney is not used to having flops. Nelson Peltz, who's a
True, people forget about this, but there was a time, not even 10 years ago, when everything that Disney released was an absolute smash hit. And look at how the times have changed.
serious investor in Disney, has criticized Disney's woke strategy in an interview with the Financial Times. He said, "Why do I have to have a Marvel movie that's all women? Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to do that? Why do I need an all-black cast?" What do you think of this? I mean, critical drinker, there's no doubt Disney's in a pretty poor run at the moment. How much of that is down to woking up the movies?
I mean, I think it's definitely a factor, but it's part of a much bigger picture that incorporates other issues like a general decline in storytelling quality, a prioritization of quantity over quality, and yeah, like delving too much into identity politics, which by their nature are divisive. Of course they are. And so all of those different factors working together have slowly undermined their creative output to the point where all of their major franchises are failing. Star Wars is kind of a disaster at the moment.
So true.
Marvel Cinematic Universe that used to be this money printing behemoth is churned out flop after flop in recent years, and even their own their own unique animation movies like Wish.
Haunted Mansion flop, Pixar flops all over.
Now, what he's saying here is actually so true, and people forget about this often. It's easy to blame everything on the woke part of it, because that definitely ruins a lot of things, no question about it. But the writing is just atrocious. Even if a movie or a TV series is not technically woke, or there's very little hints of it, man, the writing is just so ridiculously bad with everyone on Hollywood. And I think that's what happens is when only certain people in reality get to go and do things in Hollywood, because it's, a shoulder-rubbing thing, and pretty much people are honestly just born in the business, and that's kind of how it goes. And then these people who have no real-world experience, literally don't even know how basic physics function, get to make movies and get to represent how character interactions happen. I recently watched The Three-Body Problem from Netflix, and man, is it atrocious. Like, every time there's something involving character dynamics, it is just the most painfully dull, boring, unrealistic thing ever. And the Vogue doesn't even bother it. And I think this is a great point. The quality of the writing has slipped so goddamn tremendously over the years. You can even make this argument, and it's probably not true, but you can make at this point an argument that technically woke isn't even that bad. Maybe it would even not be that bad, and it could work potentially if the writing just wasn't that ludicrously stupid and arduous at almost every situation possible. Every time there's an interaction between humans in Hollywood, I just cringe because it's so bad.
Over the place.
Yes, exactly. All of those different aspects of their creative output have flopped, and they've got nowhere to go at this point. Clearly, something has to change. What they're doing is not working anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the Nerdrotic, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, a comic book tale featuring a strong female lead. The Marvels, a comic book movie featuring a diverse cast of strong female leads. Elemental, Disney's first animation featuring their first strong non-binary lead. All flops. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. People who are intent on attacking.
Bro, can you call it a coincidence?
Disney saying, well, this is because they're pursuing a strategy that's not based on just producing great movies. They're pursuing a strategy trying to appease the woke brigade, who will come hunting for them if they deviate from the woke worldview. Your thoughts?
Yeah. The woke brigade that's within their building, right? So,
right.
we see all these third-party companies in gaming that's going off right now. But like Disney is that third-party company. They are the DEI department. Lucasfilm is the DEI department, and now Marvel is too. And it was really easy for comic book fans to figure this out because we read the comic books. She-Hulk, for example, was a great comic book. It was reverent. It broke the fourth wall. That the famous run is by John Byrne, and
She-Hulk's not actually a bad thing in general. It's what Hollywood has done to She-Hulk that's the worst part. It's a complete disaster, obviously.
I love the comic book. She-Hulk was a member of the Fantastic Four. This is one of my favorite female Marvel characters, and they destroyed her because they don't know what they're doing. I did a clip in one of my videos of all of the writers.
Oh, no, dude. Team Scottled Witch still. Not gonna change.
For most of the Disney Plus, stating that they didn't know anything about the comics and they didn't read the comics. And that's part of the reason, because they're just there for identity politics. It's simple. We used to joke about they're just checking boxes when they're literally checking boxes now.
Right.
Which kills creativity.
Ernest, you'd be sitting there grimacing. Yeah. It's clearly demonstrably not working, this strategy. And I've just looking for me.
Who are these two guys? Are they actually from Disney? Or are they critics, I'm assuming, or something?
The outside look at it and think, yeah, they have been too concerned about identity politics, too concerned about appeasing their very woke workforce. And they should have just stuck to doing what Disney does best, make great family films and make a ton of cash.
So there's a lot of misinformation, and I think the issue is that no one here is...
Man, starting a sentence with "there's a lot of misinformation," get ready.
Actually really reading the real strategy. The problem is several things. There's a missing implication. There has been, arguably, films...
The case for cancel culture. I mean, honestly, that's all I need to know.
That were super successful. Black Panther had a predominantly black cast, not all black cast, and made $1.3 billion at the box office and had a really successful sequel. The reality is that when you start saying woke or DEI, there's another implication there where you're implying in many ways that what is the opposite of lack of diversity in those films?
Well, the argument here is that Black Panther wasn't necessarily woke too much outside of look at all this cultural heritage that you stole from other places. Damn right, bitch, you fucking conquer, you fucking take. That's how the world has worked. Don't go all pussy shit on me just because you got conquered.
It's feeding to an all-white cast or majority white cast and a lack of diversity. I don't think that that's what Disney's trying to do, and I don't think that's what Hollywood should do because it doesn't reflect the society we live in. However, what's missing in this conversation is that the reason why a lot of these films are not doing as well is because many of them are spin-offs, sequels, or there's just overall fatigue in the market where people want original stories.
Yeah, I don't, but again, both Nerdrotic and Critical Thinker talk about fatigue. I don't buy that. I just think it's just bad movies and whatnot. I don't think fatigue is a issue here at all. I think if it's bad, no one watches it. If it's good, the fatigue doesn't exist.
So I do think that rather than try to make this a culture war, which really it isn't, it's more of a change in taste from the audiences and what they want. Let's keep it 100. Pixar has not really made too many original films that have really been able to be fully marketed. And there's been an oversaturation of them. There's an oversaturation of Marvel. But if you look at other films elsewhere, there has seemed to be...
Also, for the oversaturation argument, that doesn't work. I haven't watched any real Marvel stuff for... I don't know how many years at this point. I haven't, because they're all bad. And how can I be oversaturated, exhausted, and have this Marvel fatigue if I'm not consuming Marvel products? It just doesn't add up.
A trend of liking diversity, TV shows, streaming platforms. And so it seems to be a little bit intellectually dishonest to frame it in this way. I think there's another way to look at it.
I'll come to Esther at once. I mean, I would just say, my favorite movie the last few years was Top Gun Maverick, because it just did what it said on the tin, right? The guys behaved like guys, the women behaved like women, bad guys got slotted, and the good guys were heroes. I mean, that used to be how movies got made in Hollywood. They celebrated the basics in life. Now they're too busy worrying about what the basics in life actually are. Esther, I want to play a clip from South Park.
I think they're trying to make a new basic of life in that context. They don't care about what is, they want to make something new.
Take a look at this.
Oh, jeez.
Is there a problem, people?
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones, put a chick in it and make her name it gay!
Sure, yeah.
Accurate.
Well, let's try that. Again.
Kathleen Kennedy is down on set right now, ruining the new Bambi movie.
Put a diverse woman in it, make it gay!
Bambi's a baby deer.
Fuck baby dear, put a chick in it, make her gay!
Now, the thing about South Park, as Meghan and Harry can tell you, is that through their comedy, they often absolutely nail the truth. Esther, your thoughts?
Well, I think that the argument that they've not been making enough independent films and that's why they've been flopping. Well, the independent films that they have made have also flopped because they've not been focusing on storytelling. They're always thinking, how can I have a transgender Muslim black woman in there? And they've stopped thinking about storytelling because they actually look down on the audience that they're targeting. I also think there's another dynamic here, which is actually the media. So the media works against them. So if you actually just wanted to tell a story and the entire...
Wait, it sounds like she's on this side of the argument. Doesn't Piers Morgan typically do like one on this side, one on that side, two on this side, two on that side? Or am I missing something here? Huh. So these three are gonna be against this dude? That seems unfair. 2 on 2 seemed already honestly unfair here, but wow.
Cast of that film was white. Even before you watch the movie, all the promo will just be saturated by these sort of pink news articles saying, oh, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transgender. So even before the film comes out, you have media working against you. So in that, and the media will be easily disseminated. So that will kind of kill the buzz before anyone bothers to watch the film. And I think that's the issue. They've stopped respecting the audience and they feel the need to preach to them.
I just think that's so...
Yeah, okay. No one who is on Disney's payroll will ever mutter the words disrespect audience. Whoa, okay. Wow.
Right, I just think Disney should go back to what they're good at. It's a fantastic company that used to make fantastic movies and hardly ever had a flop because they knew their audience so well and they didn't attack their audience. Sorry,
a lot of those movies were not sequels. A lot of those movies were not.
But going back to Black Panther, did Black Panther succeed because there were black people in it? No,
it was a great story.
It was a recognizable character that comic fans that I had been reading since I was 6 and 7 years old.
And the thing is, they tried to replicate the
followed...
same exact formula for Black Panther with the second one, and it made half as much. Clearly,
half as
were
much.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I want to be clear.
And no one talks about it anymore.
In his statement, I want to be clear that Peltz did say in that interview that basically argued that the Marvels and Black Panther, he didn't even want to get Black Panther made. And in Iger's book that he came out in 2019, he referenced that they had to fight to get Black Panther to come out.
That was Ike Perlmutter, not...
Yeah, I assume that's just marketing, honestly, and someone's lying that, oh, we had to fight to make Black Panther happen. Really? At the time when Black Panther happened, everything was already like, yes, something like this, we're definitely gonna make it happen. I don't believe that, honestly.
Nelson Peltz.
Why? You're right. Why?
Who's backing Nelson Peltz? Why?
Right. Why?
They didn't think it would sell action figures, and he was obviously wrong on that one. And he didn't want Captain Marvel made either. But there's a lot of fishiness around Captain Marvel, and then when the sequel came out...
Oh, this is also something that people don't talk about. It is actually the action figures and whatnot. Good movie comes out, a lot of things happen. You know, people are susceptible. A great movie of the Avengers comes out, they're not going to make that much money on the movie. You know where they're going to make a lot of money? On the toys, on the merchandise, on the everything attached to that. So, you know, a lot of movies actually get canceled when talking about, you know, superheroes and whatnot, just because they don't think they're gonna sell toys, because that is a huge chunk of profit for them, and it's really easy.
Which was the most predictable flop of all time. It flopped. It was their biggest flop. They didn't put any effort in it because they didn't put any... If you watch Captain Marvel and read the books that she...
Brie Larson is hot. No one is ever going to change my mind. Brie Larson, I want to marry you.
was based on. She was Carol Danvers. She was Miss Marvel. She was a likable character. They turned her into a dude. And
no, well, yeah, they also turned her into a dude, yes, but the character got absolutely butchered. Miss Marvel, separating from our goddess Brie Larson because I love her so much, okay? Purely Miss Marvel in the movies here, okay? Miss Marvel was not a hero. She is actively a villain if you actually stop and think about the actions. At every point she can, she's pretty much injuring, killing innocent people, and abusing her power. The power, by the way, that she got for free without any consequences, tribulations, or even trying. She just got it and became the bestest ever. That is a horrible, horrible story.
Kevin Feige is the one who put out the edict. He said, we're going to make half of our characters women. That's where the MCU comes from. I didn't create it. Nobody created it. Kevin Feige created it. He's the one who said, I'm going to put down this edict and I'm going to start checking boxes. And that's exactly when they started failing, right after Captain Marvel. It's been all downhill from there. Very few of their movies have made money because the budgets have blown up beyond we don't even know. We just learned that Doctor Strange cost around $300 million without marketing.
But by the way, that's the same thing that they did to Barbie. Can I just point that out? I know comic books are not as popular as Barbie, but I'm a huge Barbie fan. And the people who made Barbie didn't bother to watch one of the 47 animated Barbie films. If you actually are a fan of Barbie, the Barbie film that was produced last year and made all that money, it was a complete abomination because they didn't even bother to actually do any research. This is the thing. They have activists instead of filmmakers. That's the problem. And no one wants to watch something that's preachy and boring.
Candace Owens Jr., listen, it's not a flop.
It's a flop.
Barbie did the thing. Barbie
was an abomination.
And so all this argument about woke and this, at the end of the day, it was a fresh, original concept. People want to go see diverse films, but they also want to see things.
No, they don't.
So does he mean diverse films as in, diverse cast, or diverse films as in diverse ideas? I actually think he means ideas in this context.
I think diverse about
people want to see
Barbie
good films.
It's
they don't care about
and Barbie had nothing to do with it.
Don't all talk over each other. But let me just be clear. To be clear.
Yeah, the Drinker's right. The funniest part about this diversity is they don't really care about this diversity. It's all stereotypes. It's literally all stereotypes. Again, the last series I watched, the three-body problem, one of the main protagonists is a black dude. You know what his personality is? Nothing. He doesn't have a personality. He's assumed smart for no reason, never explained. He's called a genius one time and he goes like, yeah, I know. And his main personality trait is he literally smokes weed and he just hooks up with a bunch of chicks. That's it. That's not how you make a character. And why does he do all of those things? Because he's the token black character. The first scene you see him, he rides a bicycle. He gets off the bicycle, he puts the bicycle God knows where at random, and it never appears again even. I mean, it's so cliche stereotypical. I would not fault you for assuming, wait a minute, did he steal that bike considering he is the most generic depiction of every stereotype you could ever put on him? And you know what's the funniest part about that? He's probably the second best character in the series. That's right. The most bland, completely did not even go into his backstory character, who's a complete stereotype of everything that you could ever mishmash in, is the second best character in the goddamn series. That's hilarious.
Barbie was not a film about diversity. It was a film bashing men, attacking the patriarchy, and saying that all the good things in the world are female. And the only...
True. Barbie actually succeeded because a lot of couples went to watch it because the thing about Barbie was, man, the reputation that Barbie garnished as being absolutely unquestionably ludicrously terrible was so hilarious couples actually went to Barbie to see it because they wanted to see a comedy. It's actually crazy. Now, And the way they achieved this was exactly as Piers Morgan said. It was this bashing men type of thing, but they bashed men so hilariously that it seemed more funny than preachy, honestly, to a degree. How technically the Kens are kind of... It was actually hilariously good. It failed in bashing men so hard it almost bashed stereotypical woke women shit. It's hilarious.
Funny thing about it was at the Oscars, it was all about Ryan Gosling. Ken had the last laugh as Margot Robbie sat in the seats, unwanted and unattended. And I love Margot Robbie, but let's not pretend what Barbie was. It was a box office smash, and as Esther said, an abomination, a man-bashing abomination. Talking of abominations, let's come to...
I mean, who didn't love Margot Robbie, after The Wolf of Wall Street? It is what it is.
Joker 2, a musical. It's been announced that the sequel to Joker
Not
is going
watching.
to be a jukebox musical co-starring Lady Gaga with up to 15 lip-synced cover songs. My heart...
Wow. Okay.
Sank when I heard this. Critical Drinker, what did your heart do?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, ultimately, it's all going to come down to the implementation.
Yeah.
Potentially, there's a way you could make this work.
It does. 15 lip songs in the Joker does sound stupid, but I'm not gonna lie, Lady Gaga does have an appeal, and she has been in other movies before and whatnot, so it's not that bad. So this could technically work. I actually agree with this point. Now, the chances that this will work, kind of dipping below 50, 40, and 30% at this point. But at least there's a chance.
When I first heard that this is the route they were going to turn it into a musical, wasn't a fan. But I loved the first Joker movie, told a great story. It wasn't mired in the comic book superhero movie genre. It was a story about a man gradually losing his way in society and a world that just didn't care about him. Fine, that sort of thing works
That's a great
perfectly.
story.
And it was great. Not sure I love this idea of turning it into a...
And especially because it's very apt for modern days.
Musical. I got a little bit of confidence in Todd Phillips as a director. He clearly knows what he's doing with this, but whether or not they can make this work, it is debatable. I think
Esther,
we're going to have to wait and see.
musicals
I despise musicals. I mean, to be fair, Baz Luhrmann has a hand in why I really hate musicals.
I liked Sweeney Todd.
But I also
Why?
think I don't really like his cinematic style, and what he did with Moulin Rouge I can't stand it, and it's not a genre
I liked Moulin Rouge.
I can take seriously. I think it works in theater, but it's
La
just
La Land was great. I
No,
watched
it was
with my daughter
awful.
the
La
other
La
night.
Land was
No, it was
horrible.
great.
It was
I love La La
unacceptable.
Land.
It was horrible. But I don't understand
Singing in the Rain. I mean,
the Joker
God, I mean,
character
really?
in a musical.
All musicals are terrible.
I think they're all
Singing
terrible.
in the Rain.
They're all awful. I can't stand them.
Nedrotic, come in here. I'll come to you, Ernest. Nedrotic, all musicals are awful. Discuss.
Most of them are.
Yeah.
But there's a couple I like. But most of them...
Yeah, by the way, the Moulin Rouge and Sweeney Todd are pretty much the only two musicals I like, so there you go.
Are pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Just not my taste. But with Joker, I didn't think the first movie should exist, and then it became kind of a cultural event. I'm sure you remember the press around that. That was supposed to be some movie for incels, and I had to walk through a metal detector.
Ah, yeah, I forgot about that. They tried to the media when the Joker dropped, and it was a success. They instantaneously start mass running stories. This is gonna create murderers. Oh my god, the incels and shit. Great times. Great times.
To go in New York to go watch the movie. Wow. In America because of all the press that was around it, that was going to incite violence and all that crap. And the violence happened at Frozen 2 and not Joker. Thought the movie was great. I didn't think it needed to exist because ultimately the Joker doesn't need an origin. But I really don't think this sequel should exist. I love Todd Phillips as a filmmaker. Not a big fan of Lady Gaga. So, yeah, I'm skeptical on this.
Okay, Ernest?
Musicals are touch and go, but I think people like something that is original and fresh, and we haven't seen it, but I wouldn't count Gaga out, and I wouldn't count Todd Phillips out. I think that the cast is going to really drive it.
I agree, but I don't know. the fact that it's a musical on its own, like, she's right. Most musicals suck. It's just, it is that. And it's to the level that most musicals suck that you can pretty easily say, yeah, all musicals suck, and it's pretty much accurate.
It already has a great interest in the public. I'm open, and and again, I'm not crazy about a lot of.
Do you know my theory about musicals, Ernest, is that it's a bit like music. It's like an album, right? When you listen to an album for the first time, it's very rare that I listen to an album once and think, oh, that was fantastic. They grow on me, right? You listen to the same song a few times and suddenly you're into it. And I felt the same about La La Land. First time I watched it, I didn't like it. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Second time I liked it a bit more. And the other night I watched it with my daughter, absolutely loved it because I knew all the songs. You know, it's a bit like when you go to a concert. If they play their greatest hits at a concert, I'm a happy boy.
And it's also an original musical, which is my point. Like, you didn't see it on Broadway. It was made for the film. And so when you have, again, something that's different, people will watch it. Because if you're like, you know, The Color Purple didn't do well, right? Because a lot of people was comparing it to Broadway, to the other movie. And so you have something to compare it with. Not everything can be Chicago, which I think is one of the best adapted musical to films ever, in my opinion.
This is strange. I actually kind of agree with some of this stuff this guy says. Because he's not saying diversity as in, oh, let's have 5 Mexicans, 2 white women, and, you know, that's how you get the UN scene from the 3-body problem that 95% of the UN is somehow black, and then it's like 1 Asian dude and 5 white women. He doesn't mean that. He actually means, hey, here's a space movie. Hey, here's a deep diving cave thriller movie or something like that, you know? That's what he means. I agree with that. The more styles of whatever we have, the better. Now, admittedly, you can say, well, it didn't work for Star Wars with Rogue One and all of that shit. But yeah, that was just poorly made. There are a lot of great things to show and tell in the Star Wars universe, for example, that do not even involve Jedi. But other things, you can easily, by the way, have a Game of Thrones in Star Wars in literally just, for example, an Imperial battle cruiser. You can easily have that because the setting is already there. The Empire in Star Wars is about deception and pretty much clawing your way to the top through corpses. So you can even have a Game of Thrones type of thing in Star Wars. And it would be great as long as it's made good. And you would not even have to have a single Jedi. Hopefully, especially not Ahsoka.
Okay, let's turn to Sydney Sweeney, this cultural phenomenon, being called a double D antidote to woke. Canada's National Post posed the question, are Sydney Sweeney's breasts double D harbingers of the death of woke? And they summarise the argument by saying we've spent years being chastised for desiring or admiring beauty because beauty is rare and exclusionary, and to exclude is to hate. Also, we've been scolded to accept by today's diversity, equity and inclusion fanatics. We aren't supposed to admire Sweeney's beauty, but we've done it anyways. The times, they are a-changing. Critical Drinker, are they changing? Has Sydney Sweeney's cleavage basically spelled the beginning of the end of woke?
I just love the idea that Sydney Sweeney's breasts have somehow become a political movement. I mean, that's the one aspect of politics I can definitely get into. But no, I mean, from this point of view, I don't know. There's been so many attempts to redefine beauty standards and foist different ideas upon us. But ultimately, the heart wants what the heart wants, I suppose. And when you see a young, attractive woman who's well endowed, shall we say, guys are going to like it. We're relatively simple creatures, you know, and we're not all that difficult to please. And people are appreciating it.
If there was a movie that pumped gasoline through the vents and you could like just, you know, feel it a little bit, that movie would be absolutely popular.
Sydney Sweeney herself seems to be very much aware of the attention that she's getting because of this, and she's happy to play into it, and as she should.
I don't think it's only. By the way, it's not only guys, is it, Esther?
I mean, I'm a tittyologist. I love boobs. I love nice boobs. I'm a bit jealous though because I feel like Sydney Sweeney and I are boob twins. But she gets all the double D attention, but I don't. Maybe because I'm not dressing like I'm.
puts the full screen.
Auditioning to be a wet nurse. Anyway, but
If
look,
you haven't seen Esther's pole dancing on her Instagram, by the way, you haven't lived.
yeah, no, but I think, look, she's unapologetically
She's a breakout pole
sexy.
dancing sensation waiting to happen.
Well, I don't know, for my parents' sake. But look, I love that Sydney Sweeney's leaning into her femininity, her beauty, maybe a bit too much because I see a lot of boobs. But anyway, and men like boobs. It's not groundbreaking.
Yeah, women also like boobs. She's right.
All right, Nadrotic, I mean, I always think that the movie game in particular should have a premium on beauty. I don't want to see too many ugly people on screen. Sorry.
No, that's the problem we've been having is we have a lot of ugly people on screen. I don't want to identify.
Current screen accepted, obviously.
Current screen.
We're not
silver
actors, it's
screen.
okay.
Oh man, at least it's so much better for movies than it is for gaming currently, with all the absolutely disgusting game characters that you need to play nowadays. Man, if it's a female and she doesn't have a beard, is it really a game nowadays? It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't need to see myself reflected. I don't see some middle-aged, recovering alcoholic on the screen all the time. I don't. I want to see heroism. I want to see beauty. Yes. I want to see something to aspire to, something we normally don't see. Look what they did to Kelly Marie Tran in The Last Jedi. They completely uglified her, and she's a pretty girl. And they've been doing, they put a piece of metal over Scarlett Johansson's boobs in Endgame. That should be a crime.
Yes.
These are things
that should be a
they
crime.
Need to be free.
I agree. Ernest, it should be a crime. I agree.
So misogyny aside, I think that
misogyny to admire the female form. Ernest.
You have some kind of
Since when did fancying hot women be misogyny?
Okay. He completely has lost his boys.
I'm moving on. The try to make it like this thing is the woke, I think again is forcing a culture war that's just nonsense. But I will argue this, that if they think that Sydney Sweeney is the antidote to wokeism, then I would say that Taylor Swift is the person that's countering all of that.
She has no boobs. Well, she got a boob job, but like, what are you talking about?
That's the point. That's the point. It doesn't matter. She is the antidote. That type of.
He's actually right. Taylor Swift now is like the poster child for wokeism to a degree. It is pretty sad.
Narrative. She's successful. The right used to love her until she basically became to them woke, which is nonsense.
It's not her boobs.
And now she's out here getting billions of screens on Disney Plus.
Yeah. It's Taylor Swift completely butchered herself.
Misogyny to like boobs, by the way. I like boobs.
And by the way, the switch Taylor Swift did is absolutely fucking insane. It feels almost overnight that she became this, hodgepodge woke creature. It's kind of insane. 1 minute it was, Taylor Swift good, and the other moment Taylor Swift was dancing with devils on stage and doing the thing that the fat guy was doing with that crap on stage. Also, he was a singer. Yeah, that stuff. That's insane.
And by the way, I think as Nadrotic just pointed out, with Sydney Sweeney, it's not just about her cleavage. It's about the fact she's worked out what to say that is going to resonate with people in a way that is now leading this debate. And good on her.
Not her acting, not her.
And her acting, and her beauty.
Oh, okay.
And
I wanted to put her talent out there.
Acting, talent, beauty, and an attitude that is resonating. And she's a breath of fresh air. Thank God for Sydney Sweeney, and thank God for Critical Drinker, Nadrotic, Esther, and even you, Ernest. Even you.
Lost me.
Thank you all very much.
Anyway, wow. Everything's on point. Everything's accurate. What can I say? I agree. Anyway, this was Closer to the 10. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.